India, a nation surrounded by geopolitical complexities, faces persistent threats from terrorism sponsored across its borders, with neighboring countries like Pakistan and China and the challenges of religious radicalization. The need for robust counter-terrorism measures is paramount. In the last 9 years, the Modi government has taken decisive steps to ensure India remains secure, adopting a multi-pronged approach to counter-terrorism, terror financing and cross-border infiltration. Hello and namaste, I am Richa Dwivedi and this is NIJ Explained. To begin with, let us first take a look at what measures the government has taken to counter terrorism.
जब कोई टेररिज्म एक्सपोर्ट करने का उद्योग बना करके बैठा हो, मेरे देश के निर्दोष नागरिकों को मौत के घाट उतार दिया जाता हो, युद्ध लड़ने की ताकत नहीं है, पीठ पर वार करने के प्रयास होते हो, तो ये मोदी है, उसी भाषा में जवाब देना जानता है.
The government's unwavering stance against terrorism serves as the foundation of its counter-terrorism strategy. India has adopted a zero-tolerance policy against terrorism. Clear and strategic policies have been implemented to address and neutralize terrorist threats. Strengthening legal frameworks, including amendments to the UAPA law and the NIA Act, bolsters the nation's ability to combat terrorism effectively. Amendments and strengthening provisions in the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967 have been undertaken to provide a stronger legal framework for combating terror financing. Dedicated cells such as the CFT cell and TFFC cell have been established to focus on coordinated actions aimed at countering terror funding networks and addressing the circulation of counterfeit currency. Besides this, the government has targeted a very crucial aspect that serves as the backbone of terror activities. Yes, we are talking about terror financing. Measures to track and curb terror financing, including the formation of specialized cells and coordination groups, have been established. Now, also to curb terror financing, global cooperation becomes paramount. On the global stage, the Indian government has been actively engaging in international forums to garner support against terrorism and expose Pakistan's connection to terrorist activities.
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism. Victims of terrorism defend themselves, counter acts of terrorism, they call it out, they delegitimize it, and that is exactly what is happening.
Hosting conferences like No Money for Terror shows India's commitment to collaborating with other nations globally to counter terror financing by sharing expertise and strategies. Actively engaging in global forums like the Interpol General Assembly enables India to discuss and coordinate international efforts in the fight against terrorism, especially in curbing funding channels. The commitment made by world leaders at the G20 summit this year emphasizes the global necessity of countering terror financing collectively, indicating a unified global stance against such activities. Now let's look at the responses to terrorist activities under Prime Minister Modi. In 2015 and 2016, surgical strikes showcased India's capability to respond decisively to terrorist threats.
The Indian Army conducted surgical strikes last night at these launch pads. The operations were basically focused to ensure that these terrorists do not succeed in their design of infiltration and carrying out destruction and endangering the lives of citizens of our country.
A swift and decisive response to the Uri attack showed India's capability to safeguard its borders. The Balakot airstrikes in 2019 reinforced India's commitment to eliminating terror threats. These were conducted as a response to Pulwama attack and targeted terrorist infrastructure, sending out a clear message about India's commitment to eliminating threats. Counter-terrorism efforts have been robust, evident by the reduction in terror incidents in Jammu and Kashmir. A remarkable 168% reduction in terror incidents in this region shows the success of counter-terrorism efforts. Besides this, the NIA's impressive 94% conviction rate in terror financing cases shows the effectiveness of the investigative process. Here's a look at some of the major steps to counter terrorism taken by the Modi government. There's no doubt that the government has been making continuous efforts to equip and empower the armed forces to effectively tackle terrorists and respond to threats. Apart from this, there are several key areas that the government is working on to ensure continuous monitoring and response readiness against terrorism. The government has allocated resources, introduced advanced technology, and provided extensive training to security forces and intelligence agencies. This comprehensive effort aims to bolster their capabilities in combating and responding to terrorist threats effectively. The establishment of NSG hubs across India serves as strategically positioned centers for swift response to potential terrorist threats. These hubs are equipped and prepared to respond rapidly to any emergent security situation with precision and efficiency. Vigilant measures have been implemented to ensure the security of India's borders and coastlines. This includes the modernization of police forces, deploying advanced surveillance techniques, and enhancing patrolling to deter and intercept any infiltration attempts. The NIA's scope and reach have been expanded. It now has broader jurisdiction, increased capabilities, and an extended presence across states. This expansion enables the agency to effectively investigate and counter terrorist activities. Now, we all know the threat cyber terrorism poses. So, amendments to the NIA Act have been introduced to specifically address cyber terrorism. Multiple strategies have been adopted, including multi-tiered deployment of security forces, installation of border fencing, implementation of high-tech surveillance systems, and proactive measures against potential infiltrators. These combined efforts aim to prevent and thwart any attempts at cross-border infiltration. In Jammu and Kashmir, comprehensive initiatives have been launched to address the root causes of unrest. These initiatives aim to foster development, stability, and peace in the region, thus reducing the factors that fuel extremism and terrorism. India actively participates in bilateral, regional, and international forums to garner support in the fight against terrorism. Engaging in these platforms allows for collaboration, sharing of intelligence, and exposes cross-border terrorism activities to the global community. Now comes yet another interesting part. Let's talk numbers. Over the last 9 years, the Indian government has made efforts to combat terrorism in India. If we look at Jammu and Kashmir, there has been a substantial decline in total incidents by 70%, dropping from 7,217 to 2,197 reported incidents. This decrease correlates with a 69% decline in total deaths, notably reducing from 2,829 to 891 fatalities. The civilian casualties in this region have seen the most profound decline, marking an 81% decrease, from 1,769 to 336 deaths. Simultaneously, while a 48% decrease in security forces deaths is noted, the numbers still show a decline from 1,060 to 555 fatalities. Similarly, for areas facing left-wing extremism, there's been a 52% reduction in total incidents of violence, showcasing a decline from 14,862 to 7,128 reported incidents. This decrease aligns with a considerable 69% decline in related deaths, diminishing from over 6,000 to 1,868 fatalities. Specifically, the decline in security personnel's deaths is notably significant, marking a 72% decrease from 1,750 to 485 fatalities. Moreover, civilian deaths in this context have also reduced by 68%. These reductions in incidents and fatalities across both regions clearly show a substantial improvement in curbing terrorism activities. The sharp decline in both the number of incidents and the resultant casualties indicates successful efforts in enhancing security measures and counter-terrorism strategies in these volatile areas. The Modi government's steadfast approach has significantly curtailed terrorism in India, demonstrating a commitment to national security. Through comprehensive measures, international collaboration, and strategic responses, India has successfully reduced terrorist incidents and fortified its defenses against external threats. As we reflect on 9 years of stable governance, the nation stands stronger, more resilient, and poised to counter future challenges in the ongoing fight against terrorism. If you liked this episode of NIJ Explained, do let us know in the comments below. Until next time, this is Richa Dwivedi signing off. Dhanyavad and Namaste.